It is 2026, and the midterm primaries are just a few weeks away. And, Republicans are scared.
Ari, give us your words here. I mean, House Republicans are laying out their plans. How's it looking?
Well, I think it's uphill. The idea of growing the Republican majority, I would love to see it. I don't see it. It's going to be a very hard year, I think, for Republicans to keep the House, given history and given the very small margin that Republicans have.
The GOP holding onto that slim majority, now made even slimmer by the passing of Congressman LaMalfa and the loss of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who quit earlier this week. Are you confident Republicans can hold on to the majority come November?
No, I'm not. I feel like we could do a lot more. We don't have a lot of time to, I believe, implement all of Donald Trump's agenda. Republican primaries start in March. Texas is one of the earliest states, and I don't believe we've done enough. I mean, I'm looking at the immigration policies of the president. We could have codified some of the deportation, for example, of illegal aliens who are rapists, murderers, and pedophiles. We haven't done that yet. That bill's been sitting in the Senate for the last year, almost to the day. I think we could have done a lot more, but we'll see. We've got to take over, as Donald Trump said yesterday, President Trump, the health care issue. He has great ideas, great plans on fixing it with the health savings accounts and giving people the money back to make those decisions, meaning more competition in the healthcare market. He's spot on. Everything he has said has been the best idea for the country. He's going to go down as the best president in the United States, but I don't want to see the House or the Senate, particularly the Senate, which is the bottleneck right now, holding up his agenda and ensuring that we don't win the House. I'm very concerned about the midterms, and I know all of us are going to be working very hard to turn people out everywhere.
Nancy Mace said she was worried that the Republicans won't be able to implement Trump's full agenda, yet Republicans hold the House, Republicans hold the Senate, Republicans hold the presidency, and Republicans hold the judiciary. So what are they doing if they're not able to get anything done with this agenda? I mean, all they're doing is bombing fishing boats and kidnapping leaders of foreign nations. Look, Trump ran on things like making America affordable again, has not delivered. He ran on releasing the full Epstein files, has not delivered. He ran on all kinds of stuff to help this economy, and he's only tanked the economy further with his crazy, insane tariffs. It's no surprise that his net approval rating is minus 18%, worse than his first term, worse than Biden, and worse than Obama during the same period of time in history. Just the absolute worst approval rating of a president we've had in modern times. So of course Republicans are scared. Mike, I mean, look, we just had the special elections a couple months back, and they were a blue blowout. I mean, we had Mamdani with the huge win in New York. We had the great wins in Virginia. We had even a Miami mayor go in and they voted in a Democrat there. So just completely sweeping the special elections. I think that's a hint of what's to come. And boy, is this going to be interesting to watch. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the midterms, but I also dread them because of this redistricting shit that's going on, where they're literally just rigging elections right in front of us and allowing these state officials to just carve up whatever maps they want to weed people out. And I think that's going to be like their main line of defense is relying on redistricting, which just proves the fact that they're doing this so boldly, so brazenly, so far in advance. Again, gerrymandering is nothing new. Personally, I hate gerrymandering. I think that it's wrong, but it's always done after a census, because the reason you do the census is to figure out who's in your area and what their political affiliations are, and then you assign the districts based on those affiliations. But what they're doing now is without a census, they're just doing it because they're panicking and we got to get it done, and we're going to carve it whatever way we want. And in Texas in particular, the DOJ specifically sent them a letter telling them to divide by race. And that's what came up in the federal court cases, which got them put on hold and revoked. But then, unfortunately, the Supreme Court ruled, hey, you can do that. So now we're going to see other states possibly redistricting based on race, which is insane that that's even possible. So, yeah, Emmanuel, I'm excited for the midterms because we need change. We can't have Congress just bending over and kissing the ring and following Trump's marching orders because he's breaking the law and he's trying to do things outside of the Constitution. Even when asked about should he follow the Constitution, he very famously said, "I don't know. I don't know if I have to." That's crazy. Like he swore an oath to do so. He literally was there in January, and you can't you can't figure out if you're supposed to do that. Like that's wild. And now he's also trying to set himself up to run for a third term, which he's mentioned himself multiple times that he's not allowed to do, but he wants to do it. And now he keeps floating the idea of just imagine if I could do it. And he's selling the 2028 merch and whatnot. So midterms are essential, I think, to providing a firm check and balance to an administration that has fully eroded many other forms of checks and balances. They've gotten rid of watchdogs and so on and so forth. So when it comes to what I think those midterms are going to look like, personally, I think the country is definitely starting to turn much more blue. Because it all started for me, I think the big shift in like public consciousness, if you want to call it that, was with these Republican town halls where soon after Trump was sworn in, there were all these town hall meetings that representatives were having with their constituents. And specifically at the Republican ones, a lot of people were, upset that that this Republican senator or representative was going along with Doge and allowing Elon to just have unprecedented access. They were also upset about the Epstein files, and they were upset about these other things. And these are Trump supporters, and these are deep red districts. And it got so bad that the RNC issued statements telling officials like, hey, stop doing town halls. You're making us look bad. It's going to be bad for the midterms. So that's all. I would say that was like the first crack in the armor, so to speak. Then after that, you've got the approval polls, like you mentioned, Emmanuel. He's down underwater on pretty much like every front, even immigration, which is something he's traditionally been pretty strong on. A lot of people oppose immigration, and those sentiments are probably only getting stronger and more heated and more divisive after this killing from ICE in Minnesota. You've also got all these foreign wars where Trump has been bombing Iran, Nigeria, Somalia, Venezuela. And now he's talking about conquest in Greenland, Cuba, Colombia, and possibly even Mexico. So that, I think, is also causing him to deteriorate his base a bit. A lot of people were opposed to foreign wars. They want America first. They don't want to be involved in these entanglements. And I don't think he's necessarily gained any new support from this. I think, if anything, he's losing support. Then on top of that, you've got the government shutdown and the big hassle that caused. Not only with SNAP and people on food assistance, but you've also got the ACA in general expiring as of now in January. So you've got people who are seeing all their bills spike up, similar to businesses that saw their bills spike with these tariffs. You've got farmers getting screwed over. Like, these are all people from his base across the board. You have rural hospitals shutting down after the one big beautiful bill went in. And that's another big thing too. The big beautiful bill is giving tax cuts to the wealthy, and they're gutting things that help everybody out. So in order to pay for them. So this is something that's hurting his base over and over and over and over and over. You've also got another huge thing that's not even necessarily a political policy, but it shows the tide the country is going in, are these no kings and 50-51 protests. I don't know if there's ever been a moment prior to the 50-51 movement where you had protests in all 50 states all on the same day. And not only were they in the 50 states, but they're at each of the state capitals and then other cities as well. And some of them only had, I think the lowest maybe had a couple dozen people at them, but a lot had several hundred people there, and many had several thousand people there, and a couple had over 10,000. And in DC, if I remember correctly, they had over 100,000 people show up. And this is happening again and again, month after month. These numbers are getting bigger and bigger, and they're not going away. So that's something that I've never seen before in my lifetime, in terms of just people out on the streets protesting, being pissed, and demanding more satisfaction. You've got former Trump supporters out there as well in some of those movements too. So all of this is to say, like, these are just example after example of Trump just poking holes in his own ship and sinking. And I don't see him adding new support. I can't name one thing that he's done where people who didn't support him now support him. But I can name a lot of things where people who did support him don't support him. And of course, one of the biggest ones that I can't believe I even forgot is the Epstein files, which you mentioned, I believe, earlier too, which is, the complete handling of the Epstein files has been nothing but a joke. I mean, I guess he did the JFK files. Some people are happy and satisfied with that, I guess. I don't even know if they're satisfied, but there's the JFK and the MLK files. Like, okay, that's nice. Credit where credit's due. That's good that he released those. But the Epstein files are like top of the list, no pun intended, of just being one of the biggest priorities that's causing a lot of MAGA to move away. So yeah, long story long, I definitely think we're seeing a lot of hemorrhaging here, and it's not looking good for Republicans. And I would like to think that this should mean a blue tidal wave coming through. The only problem is going to be this redistricting. I think if they're allowed to do this and they can sort of rig the game, people are going to have to come out 10 times as strong, and I hope that can happen. But traditionally, voting doesn't really seem to go that way.
When Texas decided to do the redistricting and start that whole war, remember how it went. It was the state officials and the Trump administration themselves who was pushing it and basically strong-arming it and saying this is what we're doing. When they did it over in California as a retaliation, they did it democratically by a vote. It was a Prop 50 on the ballot where the California citizens got to vote, and they democratically decided that this is what we want to do. So just given that one example, that should actually show you a little clue as to which party represents you as the people, as the population. Are you the pro-democratic party that does it by voting, or are you the party that just obeys your leaders and does what they say? It's up for you to decide.
And when it comes to these races, there's several states involved, not just Texas and California. Obviously, Texas is where this all started. They were the ones that volunteered and said, Mr. President, we'll give you whatever votes you need. Tell us what to do and we'll do it. And then California said, okay, if you're going to do that, then we can do that too. But as you mentioned, I think that's a very, very, very important distinction, is that you don't have the government deciding on their own. We're seeing this now play out in California and Utah. You've got Maryland and Virginia also signing on board saying they want to redistrict as well, but those two are currently in progress. Meanwhile, on the Republican side, you had Texas, Missouri, North Carolina, and Ohio, and Florida and Indiana are still voting on it. However, Indiana in particular is opposing it. They're saying they are not going to move forward with redistricting. And J.D. Vance has actually gone out there to try to gather support, but it's just not happening. Over and over and over, Indiana has said, we're not going to do this, so that will likely fail. We'll have to wait and see what happens ultimately, but more states can join on board with this sort of arms race, so to speak. But the majority vote in the House as it is right now, in Congress right now, is so thin that when the one big beautiful bill came through, they struggled to pass it. It failed the first, I think, 2 rounds of voting. And the only reason that bill passed is because of Lisa Murkowski from Alaska. She pretty much sold out the entire country in exchange for her state being immune to the very things that are in the one big beautiful bill. So she was granted immunity for Alaskans, and therefore, hey, if it's not applying to us, it's okay for it to be for the rest of the country. So absolute sellout there, and that is the one and only reason it passed. So Republicans can barely get things done as it is. There's a lot of infighting. There was even a recent Republican rebellion, so to speak, when Trump vetoed some legislation. So they are already turning on each other. There's lots of infighting. You have Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's leaving. You have a lot of other Republicans who are also stepping out of Congress come this new year. So, yeah, I mean, we're seeing the right completely fracture. And if they win by a majority, I don't see how that's even possible without any kind of rigging at the moment.